viewers, today we are going to talk on a special lecture that is Earth Day. 22nd April every year is observed globally as Earth Day or International Mother Earth Day. The purpose to celebrate Earth Day all over the world is to spread awareness for Earth's well-being and to encourage people to support environmental protection. World Earth Day 2022 will mark the 52nd anniversary of the day since it started being observed in 1970. Earth Day was renamed officially by the UN in 2009 as International Mother Day. The theme of 2022 International Mother Day is Invest in Our Planet. The theme of 2021 International Mother Day was Restore Our Earth. Before discussing the 5 major programs of this year's Earth Day, let us know the genesis of this day. As to how did it all begin? What was the reason that now we are celebrating the Earth Day? The modern environmental movement started in 1970 in the USA. In the decades before this year, the events that took place were considered to be progressive and indicative of prosperity. Vast amounts of leaded gas was being released through massive and inefficient automobiles. Industry blasted out smoke and sludge without any law or comments from the otherwise alert press. Air pollution was commonly considered and accepted as a smell of prosperity. Until this point, mainstream America remained largely oblivious to environmental problems. No one was prepared to understand as to how a polluted environment could threaten human health. It is not that the scientists at that time were oblivious of the dangers of environmental degradation. The fact is that they were either mocked or misreported by the vested interest of the polluting industry. One must remember the classical and the most fundamental work on environmental movement by Rachel Carson. Working in the early 1950s, she focused her attention on environmental problems, possibly caused by synthetic pesticides, mostly by DDT. The result of her research was in form of a book entitled Silent Spring. Published on September 27, 1962, this masterpiece brought environmental concerns to the attention of American public. In this book, Carson documented the adverse environmental effects caused by the indiscriminate use of pesticides. She also reported the thinning of eggshells of birds, especially bald eagles, due to DDT exposure. Carson was very critical of the chemical industry and even accused them of spreading disinformation. The public officials were also accused of accepting the industry marketing claims without any scientific verification. It was claimed by the pesticide industry, and as you can see on your screens, DDT was claimed to a miracle for farmers with no effect on humans or with no effect on food chain. And the whole picture was painted as it was happy scenario for everyone. But that was not so. And that was brought about by the book Silent Spring, whose cover page you can see, that is Silent Spring by Rachel Carson. The first edition of this book was published on 27 September 1962. And this book is acclaimed as one of the 25 greatest scientist books of all times. It traces the historical trajectory of environmentalism, shows how words can bring about a revolution in our perceptions, and it very rightly proves that words are mightier than sword. She said, and I quote, "Man's attitude toward nature is totally critically important, simply because we have now acquired a fateful power to alter and destroy nature. but man is the part of the nature. And his war against nature is inevitably a war against himself. We are challenged as mankind has never been challenged before to prove a maturity and mastery, not of nature, but of ourselves." Unquote. At that time, the book Silent Spring created lot of hue and cry in American industry, because by this book she had made the American public aware to the toxic effects of DDT and other pesticides. By this, the pesticide industry was being damaged and it was losing millions and millions of dollars per day. And the industry said they were very critical of Rachel Carson, and they said that she is talking absurd. It has no meaning. It has no scientific background. And as you can see on your screens, the headlines of the papers which was given by the press then was Silent Spring is now Noisy Spring. As expected, this book was met with fierce opposition by the chemical companies whose interest was being compromised. But the mounting public opinion against DDT forced various changes and even a reversal in the United States national pesticide policy. This finally led to a nationwide ban on DDT for agricultural uses. This book also helped to inspire an environmental movement that finally led to the creation of the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency to monitor such cases. In a sequel to Rachel Carson's Silent Spring, another book was published by Frank Graham in 1970, which was entitled Since Silent Spring. This book described the controversies after the publication of Silent Spring. It described the attempts of chemical manufacturers to discredit the book and its author. At the same time, it also recorded more episodes of pesticide injury to our ecosystem. The book also narrated the eventual worldwide protest as evidence mounted against indiscriminate use of DDT and other undegradable chlorinated hydrocarbons. And you can see that we spray pesticides and herbicides without knowing the consequences. On your screens, you can see that at that time how DDT was being sprayed and other pesticides was being sprayed mechanically, indiscriminately. So it had very adverse effect, especially of DDT. Why so? Are you aware? DDT is fat soluble and gets stored in the adipose tissue. Biomagnification or bioamplification plays a very vital role. Now, what do we mean by biomagnification? The increase in concentration of a pollutant from one link of the food chain to another is known as biomagnification. And bioaccumulation is increase in concentration of substance in an organism over time. That is, it is taken in and stored faster than that substance is broken down. So it is stored in our bodies. So here I have tried to show you the process of biomagnification. For example, we say that in water the percentage of DDT is 0.00003 ppm. Now zooplanktons take up this DDT from water and its concentration goes up in them. Small fishes feed on zooplanktons and then large fishes feed on these zooplanktons, and ultimately seabirds will eat these sea fishes. So what do we find? That at each stage biomagnification is taking place. So as you can see that this at the highest level at the predator, this is 10 million times higher than what it was originally in water. So that means the biomagnification, that the concentration of DDT has increased so much as we go up the food chain. So now this I have shown you another slide, or which you can see, in which DDT is accumulated to such levels in top predators that it started having lethal effects. So now people said that we have to reduce this DDT. Another follow-up book entitled Beyond Silent Spring was published in 1996 by H. F. von Emden and David Picoult to carry on the environmental crusade. And all these books, especially The Silent Spring, made the general public and the world aware about the toxic effects of the indiscriminate use of chemical pesticides and fertilizers. Now let us come back to the genesis of the Earth Day. Another mishap was reported from Santa Barbara, California. On January 28, 1969, a well drilled by Union Oil Petroleum A off the coast of Santa Barbara blew out. More than 3 million gallons of oil spewed, killing more than 10,000 seabirds, dolphins, seals, and sea lions. On your screens, you can see a seabird drenched in oil. With the result, the birds were not able to swim, and this ultimately led to their death. Not only this, you can also see the surface of the ocean covered by oil slicks. These oil slicks cut the flow of oxygen from the air to the aquatic life. This drastically affected the aquatic life. Not only this, it also caused water pollution to a very large extent. Now what happened was that Senator Gaylord Nelson from Wisconsin made an aerial survey of the 800 square mile oil slick in the Santa Barbara Channel. As a reaction to this disaster, Gaylord Nelson, along with other activists, were inspired to create environmental regulations, environmental education, and an Earth Day. In fact, 3 events catalyzed the creation of Earth Day. The first one being the extraordinary attention which was paid to environmental hazard by the book Silent Spring. The second one was, as you can see on your screens, the famous 1968 the Earthrise NASA photograph of the Earth from the moon. In this picture, you can see that Earth is a tiny speck in universe, and it is this tiny speck of Earth where life can survive. So if we do not cherish our Earth, we do not preserve it, there is nowhere in the Earth or in the universe where we can go. The third incident being that of Cuyahoga River, where there was again oil leakage. In Cuyahoga River in Cleveland caught fire at least 50 times because of oil slicks, but no one bothered till 1968 when it became a symbol for the nascent environmental movement. Here on your screens again you can see that fire people are trying to extinguish the fire which was because of the fire slick in the boats and the tugs on the Cuyahoga River, and it was a very difficult task. Tons and tons of oil spilled over, destroying the aquatic life and causing so much of water and air pollution. Now Nelson became convinced that environmental teachings on college campuses could serve as a vehicle to spread the message of environmental conservation and initiatives among the youth. Every year, the day is designated a special theme. To give you an example, the 2016 Earth Day had the theme Trees for the Earth. All countries planted trees. India alone planted 32 million trees that year. On Earth Day 2016, the landmark Paris Agreement was signed. This signing was a key requirement for the historic climate protection treaty adopted by consensus of 195 nations present at the 2015 United Nations Climate Change Conference in Paris. Last year's Earth Day revolved around the theme Restore Our Earth. This included a mega livestream event featuring global leaders, eco-activists, and social influencers discussing climate literacy and environmental issues. The theme for this year's Earth Day 2022 is Invest in Our Planet. Earth Day 2022 includes 5 primary programs. The first being the Great Global Cleanup. Second, Sustainable Fashion. Third is Climate and Environmental Literacy. Fourth, Canopy Projector. And the fifth is Food and Environment and the Global Earth Challenge. According to the official site earthday.org, we need to act boldly, innovate broadly, and implement equitably. It's going to take all of us, all in businesses, governments, and citizens, everyone accounted for and everyone accountable, a partnership for this planet. This is the moment to change it all. The business climate, the political climate, and how we can take action on climate. Now is the time for the unstoppable courage to preserve and protect our health, our families, our livelihoods. Together, we must invest in our planet because a green future is a prosperous future. Thank you.